Hello and welcome to the second installment of Dynamics 365 preSearch lookup filter. If you have missed our first video, you can find the link in the comments area below, and I highly suggest that you have a look at that video first before proceeding on this video, because that video is the basis from which we started with the preSearch lookup filters. In this video, we will be creating a preSearch lookup filter using JavaScript. Business is requesting that for every account, when we select a company CEO, the contact telephone number must be the same as the account telephone number. This means that we must pass the telephone number as the parameter to our preSearch function. In this video, we are going to take you through the steps in order to meet this requirement. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please remember to do so at the end of this video if you liked this video. Enough talking, let's look at the steps which we are going to follow in building this solution. So, in building this solution, we are going to 1. Look at the company CEO field before applying the filter. 2. We're going to write our script. 3. We're going to create a solution. 4. We are going to add our web resource. 5. We're going to register our web resource to the account entity. And finally, we are going to debug and test. Right, we are now logged onto Dynamics CRM. As you can see on the far right, we are looking at the company CEO field, and it's using a default filter, which is all active contacts. And you will see there's a whole lot of contacts, but none of them have telephone numbers, but we can see the email addresses. And what we want to do basically is to make sure that we filter that list to only show contacts that have telephone numbers similar to that of the company. As you can see on the far left, your telephone number is +27, which is the country code, and the 116730097. So what we want is to make sure that that filter company CEO field only pulls contacts that have a telephone number similar to this telephone number. Moving along, we're looking at the basic at the script, and again I've went through the explanation in the previous video in terms of why do we use namespaces and how do we use the namespaces. So we're not going to cover that. We will immediately jump to our first function, which is filter contacts by business phone. As you would recall from the previous video, this function was different because I think it was called filter contacts beginning with A, because there we had coded our parameter to make sure that we only get contacts that begins with A. However, in this video, we are going to pass the parameter, and that's the fundamental difference here. Previously, we had coded our parameter, and in this video, we want to pass that parameter to the function, and the function being filter contacts by business phone. And of course, the usual, we've got our conditional operator, and the value which we are passing, which is company telephone number, as well as execution context. And moving along at the bottom there, you would notice that we are still doing passing this to that control called CRB C4 underscore company CEO, and we go and add custom filter, which is contact filter, which is our query, and we pass in the entity name, which is contact. Next, we go and create another function. This second function is the add preSearch to primary contact field. You would remember that we didn't change it from the previous example. We're just going to use it as is, just to remain consistent with what we did previously. However, you can name this function whatever that you like. And here in this function, you would see that we are calling the function below, which is filter contacts by business phone. And this is actually the crux of the whole solution, because you would think that it is possible for you to just pass the parameters in that function called filter contacts by business phone. Simply because when you look at it, you see it takes two parameters, but unfortunately that is not going to work. And maybe at this point you can pause and try this code and see if it's going to work. But again, I can guarantee you it's definitely not going to work. It's going to give you serious issues, which brings us now to the topic of anonymous functions, because that's the only way which we could pass the parameters into the function below, which is filter contacts by business phone. So here is a simple version, or a complex version, in fact, and the important part of using anonymous functions. So similar to the previous slide, but here what we're looking at, we've created a function inside a function. And this function, as you can see, it does not have a name. The function has no name. But now what we can do is to call D365.account function.filter contacts by business phone, and we can now be able to pass the parameters into that function. And if you take this code and you try it, it is going to work, simply because we are using anonymous function. I prefer to write simple and clean code. And in this case, I'm assigning anonymous function, the anonymous function, which we've just seen before, to a value or a variable. I've created a variable var fn, and then I say whatever that function is, I will assign that function to that variable fn. And now it is readable. It is easy for me to go and make changes to the function without making this thing too dark and end up making a lot of mistakes. So now what we're going to do in the second step, as you can see on the lines below, we are now passing only fn to add preSearch, and that's the beauty of anonymous function. So we've assigned the anonymous function to a variable, and it's only that variable which we are passing to add preSearch. And of course, we are now going to create the main function, which is filter contacts. You would recall from the previous video, we had the function called filter contacts, and here is filter contacts. And a couple of things that we've done here, and I've explained this on my previous video as to why I like to break down things into function, because as you can see now, filter contacts function is doing quite a few things. The first one there, it is to get the control of company telephone number. And two, what it is doing basically, if the control is not null, we are then looking to find that telephone number, which is what we are going to pass to the add preSearch to primary contact field. So that's why it is important that you always make sure that your code and your functions do one thing and one thing only, because code has a tendency to evolve. More things get added to the code and the logic changes over time, and you do not want that to impact things that it should not impact. You would see I have an if statement there. I'm saying if that control is not null or undefined, then I go and do what I need to do. I call the add preSearch to primary contact field. However, if that control is null, and that control being the company telephone number control is null, then I move on to the else, which is one, to display a message to the user to say this company does not have a business telephone number, and two, I lock down the company's CEO field, because my script or my filter will not be triggered if the first condition is not met, and the first condition being there must be a telephone number on the business phone section. I also happen to have issues with the form context dot get attribute, and I think I will explain that on another video, because at times you find that you're looking at a wrong form and the field is not there. However, there is data on that field that you are looking at, but the field is not contained within the form. Maybe by mistake you looked at the wrong form, and then you start seeing explosion of JavaScript errors on your face. And I have a way which I have been able to successfully avoid such situations. Now let's go and create our solution. Next, let's go and register a web resource, and of course inside that web resource is our script. As you can see there, there is our web resource. It's registered, and we move on now to hook up that web resource to the account entity with the objective of starting to debug. Here's our screen. Again, back to Dynamics CRM. I've logged in and I've enabled my debugger. And as you can see, when I load the account form, I am hitting my debugger inside filter contacts. Very importantly is that you refer to the other video that we did before this one to make sure that when you register your function on the form, you use a fully qualified name. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here is the final product. As you can see, I have no contact to select as the company CEO, and that is because none of the contacts which we have on the system have the telephone number similar to this business telephone number. So what we're going to do next is to pick up few contacts and start updating the business telephone number to be similar to the one of this account. And now I've opened one, Akona Mafanga. This is one contact which we have on our system. There is the business telephone number, and we go and click save. And I've done that to other two, which is Ben Brown, Dave McNice. As you can see there is the telephone number, +27 117 673 0097 for 3 contacts which are similar. Those telephone numbers are similar to that of the account in the background. Now, if we go now and have a look at the company CEO field, as you can see, we have achieved our goal. We have met the business requirement, because now only contacts that have a business telephone number similar to that of the account are visible. Everybody else is invisible. The code can be found on GitHub. There is the link. You can find the link below on the comment section. This then brings us to the end of this video. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please remember to do so if you like this video. Don't forget to leave your comments below and click the thumbs up button. And feel free to suggest which videos on Dynamics CRM you'd like us to cover in future. Thank you for watching.